First, you're going to open Photoshop, and when you do that, you're going to go up to File and go to Open. If you scan something, it should be in your folder on your desktop computer, or it might be in Downloads if you downloaded it from the Google Classroom. I'm going to be using Tilly here, so I'm going to select Tilly and I'm going to open it. Now Tilly's very small here because actually it's a small drawing. So I'm going to zoom in to make it larger. You can use the magnifying tool here and zoom in, but the shortcut is Command plus to zoom in and Command minus to zoom out. When I open this, you'll see that a layer is created. We want to isolate her head so that we can make the head bob back and forth on her neck. To do that, we're going to use one of the selection tools. If you see a little arrow next to any of the tools, that means if you click on it, there will be other tools underneath it. For this one, we're going to use the tool that's just below it called the Quick Selection tool. It gives you a brush size and allows you to kind of select the area that you want to move. I want to make sure that I have everything selected on her head and her hair, but not under her neck. And to show you that, I'm going to zoom in here. You can probably see that there's some dotted lines here and they're kind of moving. Those are called the marching ants, and you'll hear me use that term. But right now, the marching ants are going around her, and we want to make sure there are no marching ants inside her face area. What we want is that it's on the outside. If you look closely, you'll see that the marching ants in some cases are just inside the black line. And so what we're going to want to do next, and I'll just zoom out again, that's Command minus. We want to expand that selection a little bit. We're going to go up to Select and go down to Modify and click the Expand option. And what this does is it gives you an opportunity to expand your selection by a pixel. In this case, I think it's probably good to maybe try 2 pixels, and you'll see that the marching ants will move out from her head. And you might see that already, but if I zoom in, you might be able to see that better. So now the marching ants are kind of underneath the line art for her chin, and that's exactly what I want. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take her head off. So I'm going to use the Command X for cut. So Command X, and Tilly's head is gone. I'm going to do Command V or paste, and you can see that another layer down here has been created, and that has her head on it. So now I'm going to click the Move tool, and you'll see I'll get that bounding box there, and we're going to be using that in a minute. But then I'm going to put her head back onto her neck where it belonged in the first place. And I'm going to turn off the eyeball for a second because I don't know if you can see it, but there's some little parts here that I think I want to erase. So in order to do that, I've got to click Layer 1 first. And I'm going to go down here to the eraser tool, and I'm just going to erase ghost areas. There's another little piece of white. So now I'm going to turn her head back on, and I've got her head now separated from her body. I'm going to select that layer that her head is on, and I'm going to go to the little menu up here in the upper right of the window, and I'm going to click Duplicate Layer. And I'm going to say OK. Now I have a second layer. I'm going to call this second layer Left. And I'm going to go back to that first layer and call that one Middle. Then I'm going to select the left layer again, and you can't really see it right now, but when I go and I click that left layer and I go up to Edit, Transform to select Rotate. Now, when I do that, you're going to see the box go around her head. This tells us that her head is selected. I can rotate this if I go up to the corner here, and you can see when it changes to a double-sided arrow, and I can rotate her head. However, this is not exactly how I want it to look because right now it's rotating from the center. You can't see the pivot point. So to turn it on, I'm going to click this area right here, and you can see that when I rotated the head, the pivot point is in the middle. So it doesn't quite rotate the way that I want it. I'm going to Command Z that. And this time I'm going to click on that rotate pivot, and I'm going to put that down by her chin. And now when I rotate the head, you'll see that it rotates where that pivot point is. I'm going to leave this one here, and I'm going to click return to enter that. And I'm going to turn off the middle head so I can see it. Now, you might see that there's a little bit of a gap here. I'm going to click the move tool, and I'm going to move that head down a little bit, just like that. So now it doesn't look like her head has a big chop in it. Turn on the middle head again. And so now you can kind of see that there's the middle head, which I can turn off. And then there's a left nod that when I turn it off, the middle shows. So now I'm going to turn off left, and I'm going to duplicate middle again. So I'm going to select the middle layer. And let me bring this layer box up so you guys can see this a little bit better. I'm going to select the middle head, and I'm going to go up to the little menu here, and I'm going to duplicate that layer again. And it's going to say middle copy, so I'm going to change the name to right. And I'm going to click enter. Now I'm going to move that pivot point back down by her chin, and I'm going to go in the upper left hand or right hand corner, but what you're looking for is you don't want the straight arrow with the two arrowheads on it. You want to pull it a little bit further away so you get that kind of corner arrow or rounded arrow with the two arrowheads. And then I'm going to rotate it to the right a little bit. Now I'm going to turn off that middle head so I can see sort of how well that looks, and I can see it looks a little choppy in here. So I'm going to bring that head back to maybe right here so it doesn't look so strange. So that's my right. So I'm going to pull my right layer down underneath my middle layer. Now I've got my body. I have the right nod, the middle nod, and the left nod. This gives me everything that I need to create my little animation with her head nod. Turn off the right and the left and just make it so that she has a middle head. Now I'm going to start to make my animation. I'm going to go to the window. I'm going to go down to the timeline, and I'm going to click the little drop down box, and I'm going to say create frame animation. And then I'm going to click that, and you'll see that it gives you an automatic frame with whatever you have here on the screen and whatever layers you have turned on. So now I'm going to duplicate this frame by clicking the little plus button down here. And I'm going to turn off the middle head and turn on the left head. And then I'm going to click the first frame, and I'm going to duplicate that. This time, I'm going to move it on the other side of the left nod. Now, I'm going to make another duplicate frame, and this time, I'm going to turn off the middle, and I'm going to put on the right. And so now, if I play this by clicking the play button, you can see I have a Tilly with a tilting head. So this is the rotate tool. When you're done making any file in Photoshop, you can click stop, and you're going to first save the Photoshop file. So you're going to go to File, Save As, and locate your file on your computer. So maybe in Documents, you might have a file. So I'm going to call this one Tilly Head Nod. And I'm going to save the Photoshop file. Notice it says .psd. So I'm going to save that. And I'm going to click OK. Now I want to export the GIF so that I get that continuously forever loop of the animation. So I'm going to go to File, Export, Save for Web, and I'm just going to leave it like this and click Save. And you'll see it'll give it the same name, but the file extension is GIF, so you know that it's going to automatically play. And then I'm going to click Save. And then you'll upload both of those files to the Google Classroom.